I mean, something personal, Jack. What resources maybe are you calling upon? You know, you and I have lost our sort of physical room-based income, a proportion of that. Are you calling on any resources yourself at the moment?
I think what I'm trying to do is just to remind myself of the resources I have.
Nice.
And I do that in a few ways. I remind myself of how I've responded in uncertain
Lovely.
situations in the past. I also draw on not just the resources I have, and this connects to something you just mentioned, is that we can draw on the resources that other people have used. If I read a profile of someone or a biography of someone,
Yeah,
if I can
yeah, yeah,
imagine how did Nelson Mandela
yeah,
respond 28 years in prison and somehow create this transformation that the first thing he did when he got out is forgive the people who imprisoned him.
yeah.
How can I draw on some of those resources and be inspired by some of those resources? And I suppose find those resources in myself, even if I'm not necessarily aware that they're there. And as I said, one way I do that is remind myself, I tell myself stories of how I and how other people sharing this unique human bond managed in uncertain times.
Yeah, I'm going to be trivial now. That's the second prison reference. Things are obviously pretty tough in Brixton.
They are. I mean, literally, I feel like I'm in a straitjacket.
Let
Matthew.
me out of here. Let me out of here. But I love it. So that there's almost that list of what I survived. We've come through diseases. It might be chicken pox. It might be glandular fever. It might be that. It might be financial crazy times. Silly, very quick story. I was a student and I took this 100 franc note to a bureau de change in Covent Garden. And my brain was not working. I was on my bike, luckily, and I handed over a 100 franc note. I thought, this is the last of my money. My brain wasn't working. It was Belgian francs, which are basically worth nothing. And the guy said, after the exchange rate and my fees, this is worth 75p. And I thought, ooh, I have reached the absolute lower limit of my financial zone. I've got nothing. The only thing, and then you think, well, I can cycle home and the rent is paid for another week. And then we got there and I got a job. It was a cash paying job and I generated a few tips and we came back from there. So, taking your thing, that resourceful survival idea, I've been down to 75p and it didn't kill me. And it was quite refreshing in a bizarre way. And it was okay, we turned the page, it was chapter 7 of my life, and we've gone up from there. Amazing, amazing.
Matthew, anecdotal evidence says the same thing that
Yeah,
oftentimes people who have lost it all,
yeah,
who have been wiped out in a flood or another catastrophe, or had everything taken away from them, everything that they previously held dear,
yeah,
they report the sense of liberation,
yeah.
the sense of lightness, the sense of freedom, of this lack of burdening, which I think again is unexpected and fascinating. And again, what is revealed after that is what we have left of ourselves and
God.
in ourselves to respond.
There's an amazing woman, Margaret Heffernan, and she works with great business leaders. But listen to the criteria. You must have lost it all twice. To work with Margaret Heffernan, we'll put a link on this, you must have lost it all twice, which is exactly what you've said. What is left is of value. What you have done twice to get back, you know that that's the right stuff, or else you wouldn't be signing on to Margaret Heffernan's coaching course. Wonderful.
Absolutely. And I think also just another adjunct thing, Matthew, is that we actually love uncertainty. And just an illustration of this is, why do we watch sports?
Lovely.
Because we don't know the outcome. And if you just let's take a football example. I mean, if I asked you, what match would you rather see? Would you rather see Liverpool play Watford, or would you rather see Liverpool play Man City? What would it be, Matthew?
Yeah, I'm not a football man, but yeah, exactly. So, yeah, no, exactly. Man City, and we've talked about this. I remember I lived in Manchester. Manchester, like Manchester United, Manchester City. Well, who wants to see someone win every week? Exactly the same phrase from a Man City supporter.
Yeah, so
Very
we we
nice.
we want to know that the outcome is uncertain. That's what makes us tune in. And if you are a Watford supporter and you do manage to pull off that victory against Liverpool, you will be celebrating the fact that uncertainty came true.
Yeah,
So we do embrace this. And of course, when we go to watch a movie, if we think the ending's been given away too soon, we feel disappointed. We want that sense of suspense. We crave uncertainty. We want that twist in the story. And we know that this is what brings us to life. Alan Watts, the philosopher, tells this fabulous story about. He says, "What if you had a magic potion that would make every woman fall in love with you, and every man do exactly what you wanted?" Well, after a week, you'd be bored.
Yeah.
Because the whole suspense, the whole doubt, the whole
Yeah.
uncertainty of how people are going to respond to us, what's going to happen, would be taken away, and with that, our joy, all pleasure, would be diminished.
What you work for is worth it. If there's no work, there's no worth. Lovely, lovely. We're getting a bit philosophical. Is there any wisdom to be gained from other regions of our green planet?
Well, sure. And this is something that, again, Alan Watts talks about Eastern wisdom and what Eastern wisdom brings to us. We can definitely create a link to Alan as well.
Yeah.
Is that the essence of life is change.
Nice.
We know that to be true. Now, we may. Why do we seek certainty? Because we may believe in this sense of permanence, that there's actually something permanent out there. But that is not the nature of life. The nature of life is always a flux of change.
Yeah.
So what Eastern philosophy tells us is that when we seek certainty, we deny the reality of life. We separate ourselves from life. Whereas when we embrace change and we embrace the fact that we go towards uncertainty, we are acknowledging this is what life is. We are becoming a part of the flow of what life is.
Feeling more alive.
Can't beat that, especially when you're in virtual Alcatraz.
And you think, oh, great, I've got 20 years of these concrete walls. I can't wait. But there's also the idea of freeing yourself within your mind, isn't there? Shall we try and land this for Bob of Birmingham? We might have gone too far for Bob of Birmingham. How can we land this? What can he take away? What can he do? Or Roberta from Birmingham. What can they take away from this?
Let's think of a married couple, Bob and Roberta from Birmingham.
Bob and Roberta, Solihull.
And I think this is especially useful to do with other people. Is to first of all just embrace uncertainty by accepting it, by saying, I recognize now that we're in a much more uncertain environment. Much more uncertain environment than anything I really ever expected.
Yeah.
And to say, okay, I am feeling uncertain. And that simple statement of that willing to be vulnerable. So maybe Bob to share with Roberta, Roberta, I'm feeling vulnerable. I'm feeling uncertain about our future. I'm not sure what's going to happen. Just by speaking that out loud takes us away from this notion of wallowing in it.
Yeah.
By acknowledging in it, we give it air, we give it life, and we also invite other people to share their own uncertainty as well. And what often happens, of course, is that there's a kind of, between Bob and Roberta, there's the sense of, well, what do we have, and how can what we have reassure us that no matter what happens in the external world, we will be able to take these qualities that we have and the relationship that we have together as well forward in this world. So what's happening outside, necessarily they can't determine, but Bob and Roberta may feel certain in the love that they have for each other, in the love that they have for their children, in the love that they have for their work, and the passion that they have for their work. So I think it's just simply acknowledging it, sharing it, which of course allows other people to share as well, to bring it out into the air. And I think as a starting point for Bob and Roberta, that might not be a bad place.
Nice one. Wow, we have covered some territory all the way from San Francisco to London SW2. That is brilliant. You are a superstar. Thank you so much for your contribution. Well, let's put some links, and we're going to get your profile as well down there so people can get access to you, young Jack Pinter. But for today, I think we've summed it up. So in one sentence, what should they be doing? Is it the acknowledging? Just give them one sentence.
Acknowledge that you're feeling uncertain and share it with others.
Thank you, mate. Thank you, viewers. Join us again tomorrow for another session. Thanks, everybody. Cheers.
Thank you. Bye-bye.